Hey, I'm in the car, so I figured I'll just quickly look at a couple charts. I haven't really looked at these yet, but I wanted to look at the shorter term stuff and take a look at the lower time frames, and that'll tell me if there's any potential action right now. Maybe I could do some short term trading. Since I've been out of the game, I'm probably not going to hop right in. I think instead, what I'm probably more likely to do is maybe do some analyses and then watch them and say, all right, this is where I would trade. I would enter here. I would use a stop loss here. I wouldn't put a stop loss here, and then see how it plays out. And if I don't make the trade, right, and I would have made money and it shows that my model's holding up well, then I can build up my confidence and then maybe I'll make some trades. You know what I mean? I think it's probably the better way to do it, just to be a little bit on the safe side. Looking at some of the more major alts, let's look at the lower time frames here. We don't really have the Stoke model holding particularly well on a lot of these. Part of it's because we just had a big dump from the news from China, but we've been correcting overall anyway, right? We had that multi-week correction I talked about a few weeks back where I predicted that local top, and then we came down from there. If you recall, I said if you're holding longer term and you want to get out and buy back lower, this is probably a good time to do that because we're going to be having a multi-week correction. And sure enough, the model was spot on. Since we came down a bit, a lot of the charts don't have the type of stable, predictive model that I would like. So the shorter term stuff might be tough, but there could be some. Look at RSR, for instance, right? RSR, we actually have a nice repetitive wave on the Stoke, right? Let's see how that holds up with the price action. So if you look at the Stoke on RSR, right, we got, like here, bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top. See how that translates on the price action. So the price action, we had a little move up, bigger move down, little move up, bigger move down. So here, it's interesting. We are overall in a correction, and this is actually a quick educational video because I've talked about this a lot, but just to reiterate a point that I make constantly. When you're in an overall trend in one direction, based on a higher time frame, when you go down into the lower time frames, you can see how that manifests, right? So if you look here, on the way up, right, this was a really bullish run, right? So as we were going up like this, when we have the Stoke creating a wave where it's going up and down, up and down, up and down, as the Stoke is resetting and going another leg up, if it has a repetitive wave structure, you'll notice that you'll have big moves up and small moves down, big moves up and small moves down. So if you look at this most recent segment here, right now we're looking on the daily. If I were to pull up the weekly, for instance, you'll see, based on the weekly, we maxed out on the Stoke, and when the Stoke got really high down here, look at the Stoke oscillator, it's all the way at the top, got overbought, and then it turned back and came back down. As it turned down and came back down to earth, you saw the price came right back down along with the Stoke, right? So when that happened, looking at the weekly, if you drop down to the next time frame and look at the daily model, you'll see during this weekly correction, every time the Stoke reset and the Stoke came back down and then went up and then down and went up, every time it came down, it was a big move down and a small move up, and a big move down and a small move up. What happens when you get moves like that? You get a downtrend, right? So if I do trend line here, right, look, so if I do big move down and a small move up, big move down, small move up, big move down. So overall, that's creating a downtrend, right? You can draw a line here along the top, right? And you'll notice that creates a downtrend. Now, if I do the same thing and go the opposite, if we were in an overall bullish move, then when the Stoke went up and the Stoke went down, we would see a bigger move up and a smaller move down. You'd have a big move up, small move down. Big move up, small move down. Big move up. And that creates an overall uptrend. So at the higher time frame, if you're starting a big leg down and the Stoke is resetting and you're expecting a multi-week correction, then when you look at the daily chart, you're still going to see those up and down waves, right? The Stoke is going to go up high, down low, up high, down low. And as that happens, the price is also going to make moves. It'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down. That's why your overall strategy might be better to short. If you're looking at the weekly chart and it shows that we're going to have an overall downtrend over the course of multiple weeks, but you have a nice repetitive structure on the daily model when you're looking at the Stochastic oscillator, when the Stochastic gets really high and starts to turn down, that would be a good time to short. Then when the Stochastic gets really low and it starts to turn up, it might not be a good idea to long. Instead, you might just want to close your short, take your profits, and then wait until it gets really high again, because what we saw, again, is we're having these larger moves down and then a small bounce up. Larger moves down and a small bounce up. So in these situations, it's better to short those bigger moves down and then get out, wait for the little bounce up, and then short the next leg down. Conversely, if we were in a bullish trend and we were going up, then we're getting a big move up and a small move down and a big move up and a small move down. In those situations, I don't short. I just long those moves up, and then I might exit the trade at the top, and then I get in at the next local bottom. So the Stochastic oscillator can be tremendously helpful, but if you look at the higher time frames, it'll tell you where the overall trend is going, and then you can identify the larger scale move, whether it's going to be up or down overall, and that'll help you determine whether or not your strategy should be more shorting on the downside or longing on the upside. So anyway, that's RSR. We do have a nice, clean, repetitive cycle on RSR, and the indicator that we're going to get that reversal is when we see that trend reverse. When we get a big move up, like right here, if we were to see on the daily chart, we're turning up now, right? We're already going up. If we continue upwards here and we get to a new local high that beats the prior top, that could indicate a potential reversal. That might also start an inverted head and shoulders, because if you think about it intuitively, what's happening? If, in this situation, if we have this could be a shoulder and then the headline, right? And then you go back up. So if we were to push up back to the prior top, that could suggest that we're getting a bullish reversal. And that would inevitably create that transition where you go from having a big move down and a small move up and a big move down to going a big move up, a small move down, and a bigger move up. So that would be the reversal. And then I'll usually have it over here where you see that shift on the Stochastic oscillator. So since we're now upward trajectory, we have an upward trajectory now, that'll tell us if we have a chance of getting that reversal. Overall, we're still on the daily. If we look at the weekly is getting really low on the Stochastic, so it could be close. There's another day, a day plus 7 hours left if you look over here on this weekly candle. So we could potentially be gearing up for a bullish reversal, so that's something you might want to watch. We're also at a good horizontal support over here. That's been there for a while, since way back. We had a wick that went down below it, but the overall horizontal support is still intact. Plus over here, you see all these candles where the wicks held right at that horizontal support. If this support ends up coming into play again, we could see that next weekly candle start and give us a green push up. That could be the start of a bullish run on RSR. So it's something you want to watch. Looking at the weekly candles and looking at the weekly Stochastic specifically would be really helpful here. That's only RSR. If we look at the majors, for instance, we can see larger scale what sort of potential move to expect. And in the case of Bitcoin, the weekly chart's not quite as low in the Stochastic. The Stochastic's getting there, but it's not down. It's not a full reset. Then again, we don't have as clean of a repetitive wave pattern on BTC as we do on RSR. What does ETH look like? Let's check Ethereum out. Similar on Ethereum. On Ethereum, we're down quite a bit, but we haven't gotten a full lower reset. It's not like we're oversold or super low, Stochastic about to turn up or anything. We could have another week of bearish action left, so I don't want to get too excited, but eventually we are going to bottom out and start that next leg up. And that next leg up is going to coincide with that big monthly reversal, like I showed you on the BTC chart. Same thing on ETH. It didn't get that full lower reset. It reset prematurely, but it is still turning bullish. And in this case, BTC is going to run the table. It's going to kind of direct everybody else. So if BTC gets that reversal on the monthly chart, we're going to see everything else start a really strong bullish reversal on the monthly. Any alts worth looking at for potential short-term trades? Let's see. RSR is really the only one I looked at. Let me just dive back down to the 4 hour and see if there's anything with a repeatable pattern that I can latch onto, potentially make some moves. Not seeing anything. MTL, middle of nowhere. Theta, is Theta doing anything right now? No, the Stochastic doesn't seem to be that helpful. I've been out of the game for a little bit, so I have to catch up. But so far, just initially looking at these, it looks like we don't have a very useful Stochastic oscillator on the 4 hour model. So I don't know if that's going to be helpful for doing short-term trades. I might need to rely on some of my other tools and do some other traditional analyses like Elliott wave and look at some Fibonacci retraces to identify supports. I don't have the luxury of having that cheat sheet. Normally my Stoke tool is the ultimate cheat sheet. When it's locked in and we have that repeating pattern, I can predict incredibly accurate when things are going to reverse. If I don't have that tool at my disposal, it's fine. We have other resources, we have other indicators and other tools that we can use, but that would be nice to have that right now. Let's see, CHZ, anything there? Yeah, nothing so far. See what Manic has been doing. Oh, wait, that's the old Manic, right? That one doesn't even work anymore. I gotta find, what's the new ticker? I forgot what the new ticker is. Oh, wait, is that the right one? Hold on.